Prologue. The rain has a way of seeping into everything in this city. The streets, the walls, the people. It lingers, like grief that won't wash out. I've walked under it for years, carrying the weight of ghosts I couldn't save, a family I lost to shadows deeper than night. Weary, broken, I wear the badge like a shackle more than a shield. Duty keeps me standing when reason says I should have fallen long ago. Some men fight for glory, others fight for redemption. Me, I fight because if I stop, the silence takes everything. And yet, above all this heaviness, the city pretends to shine. Chapter 1. Makati City, 2099. The city gleamed like a jewel in the tropics, skyscrapers piercing the clouds, neon lights slicing for the night, holographic billboards promising wealth, pleasure, and convenience. Drone taxis hummed overhead, ferrying the city's elite, their laughter spilling from cafes and bars like the world was perfect. From above, it looked flawless. But beneath that polished surface, another Makati existed. Alleyways choked with garbage and stagnant water, shattered corners beneath crumbling condo complexes, streets where the air reeked of rot and grease. Here, desperation festered, and malice thrived. Evil didn't just exist in these corners. It waited, patient, precise, unseen, watching, feeding on fear. This was the city I had lived in for decades, and 2 months ago, it revealed a darkness I had never seen before. A serial killer had been stalking the city relentlessly, leaving behind crimes that no sane mind could fathom. Twisted, meticulous brutality that made my stomach churn and my hands tremble. I'd handled murder before, but nothing like this. This killer wasn't sloppy. Every murder was clean. No fingerprints, no stray hair, no trace of the perpetrator. The victims seemed random, unconnected. Yet one thing tied them all together. Their eyes punctured by fingers, stomachs filled with their own teeth and nails, skin peeled away, bodies curled like grotesque and turned into unnatural balls, hidden where no light would reach. And for months, he had eluded capture. The case had gripped the city, pushing local and national authorities to the edge of exhaustion. Every lead ended in a dead end, CCTV footage corrupted by glitches and static. No eyewitnesses, no tangible clues left at the scenes. Task forces toiled around the clock. National agencies coordinated sprawling manhunts across the metropolis, yet progress remained minimal. Each unsolved murder stacked atop the last, a mounting tower of dread that seemed to seep into every street and shadow of the city. The media had a field day. Television news ran rolling headlines with sensational graphics, while social media spread videos of police cordons and speculated reconstructions. International outlets dubbed Makati the City of Horrors, prompting inquiries from foreign governments about the safety of their citizens. Among the city's residents, reactions varied. The poor, living in the shadowed corners where the killer struck, whispered prayers, avoided the streets after dark, and clutched their children. Markets saw lighter foot traffic, and streets grew quieter. The rich, however, seemed almost impervious to terror. High-rise parties went on, neon lights flashing, music booming, as if the murders were happening in another world entirely. Denial, privilege, or some dangerous combination of both. They lived as if untouchable, behind reinforced gates and security cameras. But for those of us chasing him, there was no respite. The killer's shadow stretched across the city, infiltrating every precinct, every news report, every anxious whisper in the streets. And yet, he remained unseen, untouchable, leaving behind only the grotesque, methodical remnants of his crimes. The latest victim was worse than anything I had seen. A woman in her 60s, found beneath a bridge, buried in garbage. Rain had fallen relentlessly for a week. The stench of her rotting body overpowered even the foulest filth. Volunteers had to wade through shallow brownish water to reach her. At first they mistook her for another pile of garbage. Then the flashlight revealed her twisted form, and my stomach dropped. Her back was bent backwards like the others, her head tucked between her thighs, arching almost like a grotesque ball. But unlike the other victims, her arms were twisted around her neck. Out of the 7 victims I'd seen so far, this one was different. In appearance, the crimes mirrored the others, but the horror escalated. She had been forced to swallow not just her fingernails and teeth, but clumps of her hair as well. This wasn't the killer's signature. This was unusual. Then, behind the wailing sirens and endless chatter of bystanders, I heard a small, piercing voice shouting above it all. Far too young to be out this late, especially at a crime scene, the child claimed he had witnessed the crime. The crowd fell silent, searching for the source, and there he was, weak, trembling, barely able to stand, eyes wide with deep-seated fear. Something about him drew me in immediately. Amid the chaos, his terror was pure, unshielded, and I knew he had seen too much. I pieced together the horror. The killer, skinny and shirtless, had sprinted at the woman like an animal, pinned her down. Her scream cut off mid-stride. Eerily silent, her eyes had locked on the child as he tore her clothes, and then her skin, with bare hands, as if peeling a banana. He broke her fingers, bit off the tips, the nails, punctured her eyes with the impaled fingers, yanked out her teeth and forced her to swallow them, along with clumps of her hair. Even as the fragments settled in my mind, the image of the woman haunted me, silent, unmoving, her gaze locked on the child before her eyes were punctured. The boy's fear told me the killer had noticed him. He might be next. Officers escorted the boy to the station, but I stayed behind. Rain plastered my clothes to my skin, mingling with the stench of decay and grease. I stared at the corpse, forcing the chaotic puzzle into some semblance of order. The pieces were grotesque and incomplete, yet one thing was undeniable. This killer was no ordinary human, not in any way I had ever encountered. The shadows of Makati's streets, long and dark even in the brightest light, now seemed alive. Watching, hungry, something lurked in them, feeding on fear, waiting for its next victim. They say it's something older, something not human. But regardless, I had to find it before it claimed the next nightmare.